Well, good evening and welcome to the second. To start with a motion. Can I get a motion to convene the public input session? Moved by Jim, seconded by Sandy. All those in favor? That's moved or passed unanimously. Welcome to the second of two public input sessions being hosted by the Waterloo Region Police Service Board. This is an opportunity for community members of the Waterloo Region to provide their input around the 2026 WRPS budget. The Waterloo Region Police Service Board is committed to building a better, safer, and more equitable Waterloo Region for all of our citizens. We understand that this vision can only be achieved through meaningful and respectful collaboration with our local partners. As such, we have initiated these two input set opportunities to look forward to hearing from those that have reached out. Delegates will be introduced and will have 5 minutes to present to the board, followed by an opportunity for questions from board members. First up, Melissa Bowman. Good evening, if you're here. Melissa here? Oh, no? Oh, there she is. You're on mute, Melissa. Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Okay.
Okay,
well,
perfect. Sorry about that. New
no
speaker
problem.
system.
Good evening, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I decided to register tonight after learning that the first input session had no delegates. I worried that silence might be mistaken for satisfaction and that the Police Services Board might assume residents think that the WRPS is on the right track. I don't believe that's true. In fact, I think the lack of turnout says more about the process than about the level of public interest. The first session was scheduled for 1 hour in the middle of a weekday to get feedback on a budget that hadn't even been released yet. That's not meaningful engagement, that's simply checking a box. And when residents do make time to speak, the tone can feel discouraging. Last year, a delegate was cut off mid-sentence at the 5-minute mark. I watch a lot of council and committee meetings, and that kind of rigidity is unheard of. It sends the message that public voices are tolerated, not welcomed. So no, I'm not surprised that there's been little public feedback this year. Every signal tells residents that input isn't really wanted or that it won't change anything. I'd be interested to hear from the board about specific feedback received in past public sessions and how, if at all, that input shaped the budget. Without transparency on that, it's hard for residents to believe that engagement has any impact. Still, I decided to delegate tonight because when no one speaks, it's easy for the narrative to become that residents fully support the status quo. Even though the draft budget was only made public a little over a week ago and was a challenge to find online, I reviewed what I can, and what I see is a continuation of the same pattern. Year after year of police budget increases with little demonstrated connection to improved outcomes. Now, I understand that critique isn't always easy to hear, but with any organization, constructive feedback helps us improve. I hope the WRPS and this board can view community input not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity, one that ultimately strengthens trust and effectiveness. More importantly, our public engagement shouldn't be limited to policing. It should be about public safety. When the focus stays narrowly on policing, the conversation becomes about maintaining an institution rather than investing in the broader systems that actually keep people safe. Symbolic gestures, like painting a cruiser orange, don't replace authentic relationships with Indigenous communities. Telling organizers of queer-friendly events to shut down while not further investigating threats doesn't make anyone safer. Watching long-serving organizations like the House of Friendship scale back the essential programs while the police budget rises by millions doesn't inspire confidence that we're spending wisely or equitably. If we're serious about community safety, we need to invest in the things that create it: housing, mental health supports, youth programming, accessible transit, and poverty reduction. These are the factors proven to reduce harm, not just throwing more money and more officers at the issues. Instead, I'd encourage the board and regional councillors to consider genuine engagement. Follow the City of Kitchener's award-winning engagement model. Start early, go to where people are, and listen first. Don't make residents come to you during a workday. Efficiency. Advocate to the province to allow automated speed cameras. That would allow traffic enforcement to be handled more efficiently and free up police resources for other priorities. Balance. Match any increase to the police budget with equivalent investments in proactive and preventative services. Research in Canadian public policy shows there's no clear relationship between higher police spending and lower crime, but there is overwhelming evidence that investments in housing, mental health, and social supports make communities safer. We keep increasing the police budget year after year, yet the same concerns persist. It's time to separate the performance of safety from the actual actions we need to take to create a safe community. At a minimum, we should ensure that social and preventative services grow at the same rate as police funding. That would signal that this region values real safety, not just the appearance of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions from the board? Don't see any. Thank you very much for your, oh, sorry, Karen Redmond.
Thanks very much, Ian. Melissa, thank you for your presentation. Are you aware of the community safety and well-being plan that is done with the region in partnership with WRPS, and the fact that we've hired an executive director, and last week we launched our anti-hate campaign that was very much done with community, by community, for community? It seems to me like a lot of your concerns are the things that we're trying to attend to, but not necessarily just through WRPS, but also investment in upstream funding from the region. You're nodding, so it sounds to me like you're aware of these other initiatives.
I am aware of that. In fact, I brought up some of that in previous delegations because I believe it was in 2021. Some of that work came out of community conversations that were happening and much needed at the time. And one of the meetings specifically said that there would be a community-led, police-free approach. And at this point, I still haven't heard how that came. It's in the recording, it's in the live stream, but it's been taken out or was never included in the minutes, and we've really forgotten that the police-free approach part of it. So there can absolutely be a role for police to play in it, but I often hear the police saying that they don't want to be everything, they can't be everything to everyone, but then I see them at everything all the time, and in places that I don't think they need to be. So I'm grateful that we do have that. I wish there was more investment in police-free models, because I think there's a lot of evidence that supports the value in preventative approaches instead of the reactive police models that we invest so much money into.
Thank you.
Sandy Shantz.
Thank you. Thank you for delegating this evening. I guess I also wanted to comment on some of the work the region's doing, and the dollars that have been put into upstream. Right now, we're putting in over 200 million, and Karen, you probably have the correct amount more readily available than I do, but into primarily upstream funding. And that came about as a result of the community saying we need more work upstream. So I just want, and I appreciate that you're saying we're not doing enough, but I just also want it to be known or remembered that, you know, we are doing, and we have listened, and we have done some of the things that you're suggesting. So appreciate your concerns and bringing them forward, and reminding us, sort of keeping our feet to the fire. So thank you.
Thanks. And again, I would just say I do appreciate a lot of the work that's being done. And I think, you know, I'm proud to be a Waterloo Region resident because of some of that work. I want us to remember that the police don't need to be the answer, the first answer for every problem that we have. And so I just want to remind everybody of that.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. We'll move on. Next is Robert Deutschman. Good evening. I see you somewhere. Oh, there you are. Okay. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair McLean, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I join you as a private citizen, but also as a former regional councillor who continues to care deeply about effective and transparent local government. Let me begin by acknowledging the difficult and important work that police officers and civilian employees do daily to keep our communities safe. My comments tonight are about ensuring that the way we fund our police service reflects good stewardship and realistic planning. My comments tonight focus on one simple message: pause the hiring of 20 additional officers in 2025. After 7 years of significant expansion, approximately 138 new officers and 70 civilian staff added, it is time to consolidate, onboard properly, and verify that our full complement is actually in place before adding more. The hiring process, as police services itself has acknowledged, takes significant time. Recruiting, vetting, training, and successfully onboarding new officers are complex steps that cannot be accelerated without consequences. Police Services has struggled to fill positions and meet its complement targets. The public HR dashboard that once reported staffing levels was discontinued. There's no clear data showing whether the service has achieved full complement or how long that will take. Transparency is essential when the community is being asked to fund further increases. The argument for additional officers is often based on comparisons to the Big 12 municipal services. This has always been an arbitrary and incomplete measure. Those municipalities include Toronto, Niagara, and Windsor, border cities with casinos, higher tourism traffic, and very different policing realities. Toronto has a subway system and frequent large-scale events. Niagara and Windsor serve international crossings. Their service levels are shaped by challenges that do not exist here. Waterloo Region's mix of urban and rural communities is unique, and local needs should drive local staffing decisions. Previous boards have rejected the use of the Big 12 average for good reason. It has no real management or operational basis for WPRS. We should not use the average of unrelated cities as justification for expanding the force here. Waterloo Region deserves evidence-based decision-making that reflects our unique context, not imported comparisons from bigger, busier cities. True accountability means tailoring service levels to what local data reveal, not to what a provincial average suggests. The Big 12 may sound impressive, but it is the wrong compass for guiding public investment in community safety. The 2023 KPMG report, often cited to justify 55 new officers, actually cautioned against relying on such averages. It recognized that Waterloo Region's characteristics differ significantly from those comparators. It noted that WRPS had already achieved efficiencies by civilianizing roles that once required officers, and that it had a higher proportion of civilian staff than other members of the Big 12. It noted further efficiencies could be achieved through expanded roles for special constables, further civilianization, and call diversion programs such as Impact. Almost 3 years later, it's still not clear whether those recommendations have been enacted upon or even considered. Meanwhile, the overtime problem persists. Despite adding many officers, overtime spending continues to exceed the budget by millions of dollars. Hiring more officers does not solve that issue. WRPS continues to struggle with overtime spending, which is often cited as a justification for more hiring. The logic is simple. If more officers are hired, less overtime will be required. Yet the record shows millions continue to be spent above the budgeted overtime. Despite continual increases in staff, overtime spending remains excessive. So now WRPS is spending $500,000 over 3 years on a consultant to figure out why overtime remains high. I would suggest that before the consultant has even provided a first-year report, it is premature to assume that adding 20 more officers is the solution. Let's wait for data, not guesses. Give the consultant time to complete the analysis. At the same time, Regional Council has asked every department to hold the line to find efficiencies and to keep the regional budget under a 5% increase. That means difficult choices, including potential service reductions in other areas. Every agency and department is expected to share in that discipline. The police budget should be no exception. In conclusion, I urge this board to adopt a responsible and community-focused approach this year, defer the hiring of 20 officers, concentrate on onboarding and supporting the new personnel already brought in, improve transparency about complement levels and hiring progress, address overtime through better management, not just more staffing, and implement the KPMG recommendations. By doing so, you will demonstrate to the public that the Waterloo Regional Police Service is not just expanding, but evolving in a thoughtful and fiscally responsible way that reflects the values and priorities of our region. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Just looking for the board. Any questions from the board? Chair Redmond.
Thanks, Ian and Rob. It's always good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes.
I wanted to pick up on something that you repeated a couple times in your presentation, and that really was tailoring the kind of police support and service that is offered in the region. I'm sure you're aware of the focus that's been put on rural policing, and I'm just wondering if you want to comment on that. I think that has been a focus for this service for a few years, and actually changed structure to make sure that the rural areas of the region feel that they're well served. So I'm just wondering if you know about that and if you want to comment.
Just briefly, I mean, I appreciate that the KPMG report actually talked about the rural policing issue as well, in terms of finding places for police to put up offices in the different townships, and also talked about some border readjustments. But I acknowledge that having brought that up with Chief Crowell in the past, it's not as simple as just making some line changes, because there are labor agreements and union issues that have to be considered. So I think the focus on the fact that we are a rural urban split, more so than some of these other Big 12 areas, and the fact that Waterloo Regional Police Services has made efforts to try to improve their presence in the townships has certainly. I don't know if it's improved over time. I know it's been always a focus over time, and I appreciate that focus. And I appreciate that there's a continuing challenge to try to figure out how we can best serve the townships when we have the large three cities. And as we all know, at any one time, there are not that many vehicles on patrol as we would like to think that there are, and that's always a challenge as well. But I acknowledge that efforts are trying to be made to improve in that area by WRPS. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Other questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. We'll
Thank you.
move on. 2.3, Mark Eagers. There you are, Mark. Floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair McLean, and good evening, members of the Waterloo Regional Police Service Board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. The Waterloo Region Police Association is the elected and unifying voice of over 1,300 sworn and civilian police personnel who proudly serve all communities within Waterloo Region. I'm also honored to serve as their president and advocate on behalf of our members. Waterloo Region continues to be the fastest growing metropolitan area in Canada. Our members face significant challenges in meeting the demands from residents, students, and visitors alike. There are simply not enough uniformed officers to respond to calls for service and community demands due to staffing pressures. This issue has been raised by myself over the last several delegations, and I will continue to advocate that with this growth comes a need for greater investment in our members. I also commend the current Police Service Board and Chief Crowell for recognizing the staffing shortage and taking steps to address it. From 2022 to 2025, WRPS and the Police Service Board have added 90 net new sworn member positions. This, along with the expansion of civilian support positions, is progress towards more sustainable staffing levels. However, it is not enough to undo the chronic underinvestment that has plagued our service under previous leadership and board, nor is it enough to address the exponential growth and demands of this region. From 2013 to 2018, only one WRPS sworn officer was added to the overall complement, despite the region's population growing immensely. According to Waterloo Region figures, the population grew from approximately 560,000 to 601,000 during that same period, almost 40,000 people with only one new officer added. Present day, the WRPS continues to remain below both the Big 12 and provincial averages for officer per population ratio. The chronic understaffing has led to members regularly stepping up to fill gaps through overtime, which is not sustainable financially or in terms of member wellness. This underinvestment has had long-lasting effects, leading to increased officer workload, burnout, longer wait times, and reduced closure rates. We have several members off work who have given their best to this community and are now on occupational stress leave due to these past decisions. Members at work are left picking up the burden and wear the effects of being unable to spend time with their families due to excess hours and an inability to access time off from their own banks. When we underinvest in policing, our members suffer, and as a result, so does the community. In addition to these challenges, the complexities of policing are increasing. Policing now involves significant partnerships with social services, healthcare, and community groups, as officers are frequently the first point of contact for individuals with issues like mental health crisis or addiction. Officers must address complex social issues, including domestic violence, homelessness, and food insecurity, which require more than just law enforcement tactics. This is a shift from a solely law and order approach to one focused on community wellness and partnerships, driven in part by provincial legislation like the Community Safety and Policing Act. The WRPA is committed to ensuring that our members are equipped to handle these complexities, but this requires ongoing investment and support. I want to touch on one aspect of the Community Safety and Policing Act that should not affect our members. It's the legislative requirements that services are mandated to meet. These additional staff should not take away from the numbers that we desperately need. I also want to end off on a positive. Earlier this year, the WRPA and the board successfully reached a multi-year renewal agreement that was fair, competitive, and met the needs of our members while achieving the board's objectives. This agreement included provisions to enhance our recruitment competitiveness. In collaboration with the chief and his leadership team, we introduced several programs to support recruitment, such as a cadet program and a program that enabled qualified civilians to become sworn officers. We also launched a part-time officer program to cover specific duties that were pulling officers off the road. These initiatives are also steps in the right direction, demonstrate collaboration, and show the association as a partner in these efforts. The parameters are in place for success, but we need the staffing commitments. While I support the proposal for the 2026 expansion that has been presented to the board, my position is we need more than that. But I do understand fiscal responsibility, and this board was left with a Toronto Maple Leaf sandwich. I would advocate for a more stable year-over-year staffing model linked to population growth, workload demands, and attrition to ensure predictable staffing for our frontline and support units. It is essential to continue investing in our police service to ensure that we have the resources to protect and serve our communities effectively. And go Blue Jays. Thank you for your time today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Questions from the board. Doug, is that your hand? Yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute, Doug.
How's that?
Good.
All right. No, I appreciate your comments, sir, and I am supportive of the increase. But we also hear the criticism, and I've heard it from other parts of the community about our comparisons to the Big 12. So what are you suggesting again would be the right way to look at this in terms of telling the public why we need to have more police officers? What criteria would you suggest?
I would say, I heard earlier, and it's been common that, border towns, we also have two major universities and a major community college. We have over 50,000 people coming into our community every year that policing, we don't get the numbers for. So that burden is on our policing, on our members. We are a major metropolitan area. We also have a number of people coming in from Toronto and all over the region. We are the hub for Southwestern Ontario.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just looking. Don't see any other. Oh, sorry, Chair Redmond. I don't want to miss you, Chair Redmond.
Sorry, I just, the reaction buttons are in a different place now that I had an upgrade. Mark, thank you very much. I mean, the service wouldn't be what it is without the rank and file and your members that you represent. You talked a little bit about the fact that the bad guys don't stop at the border and that we're a large metropolitan area and there's the online sort of assault of safety and in the real time. I know one of the things that I'm really proud of to be a board member is the fact that our service has such good relationships with surrounding services. And I'm just wondering from your perspective if you wanted to comment on that, because I think that really speaks to the strength of how we make sure people stay safe.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Redmond. And in our area, we are the big brother, big sister. Your smaller police services rely on us. We also have a tremendous, like in speaking with the major competitor, like comparators for us are Niagara, Durham, Halton, and Hamilton. We're all kind of similar sizes, but we all talk to each other. And it's so very important to keep that going on. And there's no question that crime travels. And even from Toronto, without getting into the numbers, but we're noticing a very large increase from the Toronto area into our region. And we have to have the proper support and the people to find these people, because they come in for the day and then they leave. They're not residents. And this is happening all over, Ontario. So we need the resources to combat that and keep crime out of our region.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Don't see anyone else on the board. Thanks very much for your presentation, Mr. Riegers. Next, I think the last one is Martha Hamry. There you are.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. Sorry. Floor is yours. Can anyone else hear?
Martha, we can't hear you.
We could hear you at the beginning, but not anymore.
Is my audio still coming through here?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I hope it will continue to come through here. Maybe I'll turn my video off. I'm seeing a note that my internet connection is unstable, so just try and resolve that by removing my video here. So yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Martha Hamry. This is my first time presenting or delegating at a session like this. I want to acknowledge the 3 delegates that came before me. I think they spoke very eloquently, and I would like to put my support behind what Melissa and Rob both said, really agreeing with what they are saying, particularly in terms of what Melissa put forward around how challenging it has been for me to find the information on the budget. Going through the website About Us budget subsection, I'm seeing only information from 2021 to 2024. The 2025 budget presentation and the proposed 2026 budget is not provided there, which makes it difficult for residents to access this information easily. I would like to focus most of my time here on some of the specific numbers that were put forward in 2025 and 2026, and how the 10-year projections have changed quite drastically for some program area capitals, and just sort of understand how those numbers can change so drastically. A couple of line items: ID 50063, electric vehicle charging stations. In 2025, you'd projected a $0 outlay for the 10 following years. However, in this proposed budget, I'm seeing $941,000 to be spent over the next 10 years, including $90,000 in 2026 for an engineering study and chargers to be added at the Central Division. And I'm wondering what the value of doing a 10-year projection is when numbers can change so significantly. Other capital areas that have changed significantly, I noted 50077, the community center, 50078, Ontario CCTV, for license plate photography, $330,000 every year. Again, that was not projected in 2025. And seeing ID 50061, police equipment growth, going from a projected $123,000 to $425,000, over $4 million over the next 10 years. And like Melissa said, I'm not aware of how we can see answers to these questions. I wasn't sure what the format would be this evening of a presentation versus a question and answer period, but I would like to understand as Melissa said, how public input has shaped a budget in the past, and where the police services provides context as to why we're seeing some multi-million-dollar changes both in 2026 requests and over the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Maybe one thing I didn't, if it's been a challenge to find the materials, we'll make note of that and try and make sure it's David's nodding his head and Sherry. I'll trust you that it is. And it needs to be made available and easier for people to find for sure. So maybe we'll take that on, David, to just make sure it's more obvious when people go to the website as an example. So thank you for raising, I think a couple of the delegations have, so thank you for raising that. Questions, Chair Redmond.
Sorry, I keep popping up here. Thanks, Ian. Martha, do you have specific questions? I mean, some of the increases, you're questioning them. Would it help you to know the context around why those numbers changed?
That would help, yes.
So I hope people don't throw things at me, but I mean, if you had specific questions, I would suggest that maybe you send them into the board and we'll provide some context. I understand everybody is busy and probably can't watch our monthly meetings on YouTube, but if there's specific context to some of those things, it's a fine balance between laying out a plan that's predictable and then being nimble enough to change it as we go along. I think technology has really aided the police services ability to, again, find the bad guys and make sure that we are safe and feel safe. But as those things come forward, they're dealt with on a monthly basis by the board. And that may sort of come to focus for people that are mostly looking at the budget. But I think those are contextual things that we could provide you some answers to.
Okay, and just thank you, Chair Redmond, just for some clarity, what's the best way to get in touch with the Police Services Board? Again, having a hard time on the contact us page of the website to find a simple email address. The delegation form for speaking today was, again, very difficult for me to find. What's the best way to submit? I don't want to submit a complaint. I want to submit a question. What's the best way to do that?
I think Megan's happy to answer that.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Martha. I believe you and I went back and forth on email. I am the executive assistant to the Police Service Board, and I'm happy to pass along any of your questions or feedback to the board members and find the answer.
Great, I appreciate that, Megan.
And I think sometimes some of the questions that you referred to, it sounded to me, I could be wrong in this, but are on the capital budget versus the operating budget. And so if you send those questions in, as Chair Redmond has indicated, we will we'll get those answers back to you. And as you say, as Chair Redmond said, the context and sort of how it all fits together. So happy to do that.
Ian, Melissa put something in the chat too, asking for a 2-pager summary about the major budget lines. So we could take that away too, maybe. And I guess just to me, the balance is always, how do you give some predictability, but ask for public input at a point in time that it could be meaningful. So, if the budget was completed, it would be a different kind of intervention, which is probably what's catching us up, that it's not as formulated as some people would like to see.
Yeah. So, and I think we'll, if that's, I didn't see that in the chat, but we have some of that already. We can make sure that's available and easy to find as well, in terms of, because we've got the budget was presented to us. So we had some of that executive summary of what was in the draft budget and can make that available, which was in the open session last meeting, I think, if memory serves. So, okay. So thank you, Martha. Appreciate I don't think there's any other questions, and we will please be in touch with Megan and try and answer those questions. And I think, David, the other part is learning for us to just make it a little easier to find it. As someone who has a website in their other part of their life, not always easy. So when you've got lots of materials, but we'll take that away. Appreciate the comments that several delegations have made. Thanks so much. Okay, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have any other delegations, and there is no written submissions. But don't fear, there is time because we don't approve the budget until December. If anyone watching or if people have interest in making a submission, please there is a written you can provide a written submission which through Megan and into the service for any comments that anyone might have. Any other comments just before? I think we're kind of at the end. Any comments from the board? Any questions, comments, concerns?
Can I just ask one
Yep.
question? Sorry, Ian. I know that we did these public inputs at different times because some people are shift workers, some people don't want to have to get a babysitter, so during the day is better for them than when their kids are home from school. And I guess I'm just I guess we should just take that feedback under advisement that maybe these times work for some people, but not everyone.
Yep. And I think we had the same, we sort of shifted them to accommodate these times. And so we had criticisms over the last number of years as we've done this. So I'm not sure there's a perfect answer to it, but it is helpful to get that feedback. And I do think making the information probably a little easier to find will probably be better for folks. Karen Quigley-Hobbs.
Yeah, I appreciated the comment about timing as well. Having the session prior to the draft budget being public, I think that's something we need to take under advisement. I think it's all done in a good effort to make sure that we do this outreach to the community, but fair point taken.
Okay. Anything I don't Deputy Fenton or Sherry, anyone from staff, anything that we need to hear, David, or we're all good on the staff side? See nodding heads from Sherry.
Thank you, Chair McLean. I think everything's good.
Everything good? Okay. I think we'll let me just go back to my agenda here. Just as we move to adjournment, I want to, on behalf of the Police Services Board, thank all those that attended today's public information session. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Moved by Councillor Craig, seconded by Mr. Schmidt. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously.